All right, perfect. We're going to get started. So welcome to today's T-Sheet webinar. My name is Chelsea. I will be doing the overview of the T-Sheet platform. We'll also be covering selling memberships, selling some packages, creating events, just some really good basic ideas of how to use the T-Sheet. Now, what you're looking at right now can vary depending on your employee role. So if you're a manager, this is pretty much what you'll be able to see. The left-hand panel does change depending on your role. So I am logged in as a manager, so everything I'm going to be doing today will definitely be for the manager role. There will be some slight variations if you're an assistant or a booking agent, but for the most part, the functionalities on the T-sheet will be the same. Now, when you are looking at your T-sheet, if you look at the very bottom left of your screen, right above where it says Help Center. If you click that, it'll direct you right to our Help Center. So if ever you're looking for any useful articles or trying to, look up for anything while you're in the system, this is a really good way to get to our Help Center. Otherwise, this widget on the bottom right of your screen will be on the golf side as well as on the retail side. Clicking on here, you can search through our Help Center through here as well, or you can also just send a message to our support team. They are very quick to answer and very good at getting that immediate help for our customers. So it's a really good tool to have at your disposal. I believe our average response time is under a minute, so we are very, very quick and willing to help with any of your questions. So feel free that after this webinar, if you do have any questions, anything that you saw me go through today that you maybe didn't quite catch, you can either get a recording of this webinar sent to you, which you just have to let your account manager or implementation consultant know, and they'll be able to send you a recording. Otherwise, you can just ask them to go over any part of the system that you didn't quite catch with talking to me. So now, when you're on your T-sheet, this is really where you're going to be in this system the most throughout the day, of course, checking golfers in and out, taking bookings, all those things. Now, when you're looking at your T-sheet, on the top left-hand side of the screen, you have some pretty useful widgets at your disposal. So the very first one is your weather. Now, when you click on it, it'll actually show you an hourly breakdown of the weather at the golf course. I always like to say that's a really good way that if you're looking at your reports and you see that, maybe one day was slower than you were expecting, just comparing your month over month or year over year, you can always go back to that T-sheet on the day and be able to see what the weather was that day. Maybe it was raining, maybe, it was foggy, anything that happened on that day, you'll kind of be able to see why that was the case. And it's also a good way that if you are expecting rain in the afternoon, maybe you send a message out to your golfers letting you know that it should be raining this afternoon to give them a heads up that it could be cart path only. So it just kind of allows you to get that information, be able to share it with the golfers as they come in or as they're making bookings. Right next to the weather widget, you have your number of reservations. Now, the number of reservations and the number right next to it, so you see my 1 and my 4. This is just letting me know that while I have 4 golfers on my T-sheet for today, it was only made from 1 reservation. So I have 1 group coming in. Just a good way to kind of understand how people are making bookings at the golf course, whether they're making it as, individually, as a group, twosome, threesomes. It just allows you to see that information. And then right next to here is your carts. So how many carts were booked for the entire day. Otherwise, on the very far right-hand side of your T-sheet, this cart icon will change to a 1 or 2, whether or not they have a cart booked on the reservation. So super easy. Just some good observations so that, throughout the day, you kind of know the totals of golfers that you're expecting for the day coming through the golf course. Now, in the middle of your T-sheet, you have yours could look slightly different depending if you only have the 1 course at the club or if you have 2. Now, I can click on where it says Eastwood and switch to either one of my other courses. Otherwise, I can just stay on here. And I can also click on the Tuesday to go to any other calendar day. So I can just quickly make those changes to go to any day on the screen. Or on the very bottom, I do have the next 7 days available to me. So make those quick changes to your calendar, and then you can always quickly get back to today's T-sheet. So making those quick adjustments, accessing different things on the T-sheet as quick as possible to speed up service for customers, whether they're calling on the phone or even just standing in front of you. Especially right now, you want to kind of limit the contact and everything. So it's a good way to kind of cut down on time. Now, on the very right-hand side on the top of your T-sheet, we have this little notepad icon. Now you'll notice that on the bottom left of my screen and where I've just clicked, there's two different spots that I can put a note. Now the biggest difference between these is that the ones on the bottom left of my screen are going to stay there indefinitely. So it's not attached to a specific day, and no matter what module I'm in, I'm always going to be able to see that note. So I always like to use these notes as a good like staff reminders, so that are not specific to any particular day, but maybe just a general update, like reminder to get golfer, got my spelling mistake. There we go. And as soon as I hit save, that will stay on my screen for as long as until I edit it. So it's not attached to a particular day, it's not attached to anything. But if you did want to leave a note that's specific to, let's say, Tuesday, July 7th, I'm going to go ahead and click on here and I'm going to set a private note. So maybe it is cart path only due to rain last night overnight. So as soon as I do that, the note will stay attached to the very top of my screen. And as I scroll to my T sheet throughout my T sheet, it'll always stay there. Now, if I go to tomorrow's T sheet, the note will no longer be there. So it's a really good way to have specific notes for the pro shop staff. So if, whenever they're going to make a booking, especially if you have planned maintenance, maybe you're going to do, you're punching the greens or whatever is happening, it's a really good way to just be able to communicate with the staff specific for those days so that they're relaying the proper information to the golfers. Now, for both the private notes, you have the option of setting a public note. So now these public notes will appear on the top of the booking widget for customers. So there's a little blue bar that appears on top for them, letting them know that there's a message and there's a note from the golf course. So now if I switch on my bottom left of my screen to the news tab, it will turn blue, letting me know it will be a public. So I can let them know 2-for-1 lunch special. After 2 p.m. on, oops, that's the wrong date, July 9th. And then as soon as I hit save, same thing as with my other note, my private note, it will stay atop my booking widget for the duration that I have it there. So until I edit this message, it's going to stay atop my booking widget. A lot of customers are actually using this right now for any COVID-19 regulations or that they have in place at the golf course. So, the tee times are 10 minutes apart. You one cart per person, it just allows you to kind of put in all those messaging so that they know ahead of time coming to the golf course what you already have in place for security measures for them. So it's a really good way to just constantly be able to communicate with prospective bookings, right? Like I'll show you in a couple minutes just how you can message customers directly on your tee sheet, but these are the ones that you want to communicate with ahead of their booking so that, it kind of allows them to know what you've put in place already. And same thing of when we click on this note over here, we can hit set the public note and we can say that it's cart path only. Now, both these messages will be on top of the booking widget, so the customer will always know. And same thing, it will always stay attached to the top. And what's good about this is that as you leave these notes, anytime you go back to a specific date on the tee sheet, these notes will always be there unless you've deleted them. So like your weather, you can always go back and see any notes that were left, anything that was going on at the club that day that was either left internally or you left publicly. So it's a good way to kind of always be able to consult what was going on. So there's a lot of different usages of this feature. I mean, I've seen everything from using it for marketing for like 2-for-1 lunch specials in the restaurant. Maybe you have a special on a bucket of beer, cart path only. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of use this to your advantage to kind of always be able to communicate with the customers ahead of their booking so that they're always aware. If the greens are punched, less cancellations and it frees up, the tee sheet for customers that are going to come play. So you can really get creative with those ones. I always recommend, especially the bottom left, the notes. It's a really valuable way, especially at the beginning of using the platform, to just be able to communicate with your staff to be like, hey, just a reminder, use that support widget on the bottom right of your screen. If you have any questions, they'll be able to help you directly from your tee sheet. So a lot of added value in doing these. Now, if we go to the next icons on the top of our screen up here, this add button, you can add a lottery or tournament directly from here. I'm going to touch on tournaments in a little bit, so because we can do that through the events module, you don't have to do it through the T-sheet. If you click on these three dots, this was where you can enable that TV mode for the T-sheet. So if you wanted to project your T-sheet onto a monitor in the Pro Shop, you could put it to TV mode, which is kind of like a read-only version of the T-sheet, and it's more of a like a customer-facing view of it. So golfers can see like where they're at, if they're the next group on the tee box, anything that you kind of want to project for the tee sheet. Now, it's a really good way to also there is a way to put like advertisements as well and through your settings. So TV mode's pretty useful if you do have a monitor or screen in the Pro Shop or elsewhere at the facility that can connect to a browser. So there's some added value in doing that for sure. Now I'm going to click on our add T-sheet icon over here. So this will allow you to add a second T-sheet, super valuable for the front back setups or, you know, multiple nines or multiple courses. But it's also a good way that if you want to use the like left-hand side T-sheet for, you know, your T-sheet for today, and then if you're making any bookings, you can always just toggle to separate days to make bookings while being able to see exactly what's happening on your T-sheet. Now, the view that you're seeing, I do have a pretty large screen that I'm using right now, so I can add multiple T-sheets. The system will actually kind of prevent you from adding more T-sheets than you should, in the sense that if you don't have space for it, you know, you don't want it to be super, super crammed where you can't see the names of the golfers. So this allows you to kind of add those different T-sheets, and to get rid of them, you just have to click that red X and it'll go through. Now, right under where it said TV mode, we had our smart dates. Now, if I enable this setting, if I change the date on the left-hand side to, let's say, the 8th, my right-hand T-sheet will maintain the same date range that I originally had. So right now I have 3 days between my two T-sheets. So whatever date I change on the left-hand side of my screen will automatically change my T-sheet on the right-hand side. So this is really valuable if you do have, you know, a split T-sheet. You know, if you want to keep it always on the same day, it's a really good way to kind of have them dynamically adjusting as you make changes to your T-sheet. So if I go back to today, my right-hand side will update too. Now, if I change the date on the right-hand side, the same thing won't happen. The left-hand side really becomes your main T-sheet, and then the right-hand side is where you can be a little bit more flexible. Now, if you turn off the smart dates feature, if I change the date on my left-hand side to tomorrow, nothing happens on the right-hand side. So that's pretty much what it does. It's whether or not you want it to be dynamically kind of adjusted as you're making changes on your T-sheet. I'm going to go ahead and remove my second T-sheet. Right next to there is where you can print the entire T-sheet if you want to print it in the morning or maybe a couple times throughout the day, depending how you have it with the starter or Marshall. You also have the option of printing cart signs. So if you want to put cart signs onto your carts, you can pick and choose which reservations you want to print the cart signs for. So I'll show you that a little bit. Next is one of my personal favorites in terms of quick things that you can do on the T-sheet. When you're looking up here, this bell icon, when it's enabled and flashing slightly red to darker red, this will allow you to make any adjustments on the T-sheet without triggering confirmation emails to customers. So this is really valuable, especially for an event. Let's say you're doing an event where you want to create the foursomes, the shotguns, maybe you want to make adjustments to what holes people are starting on. As soon as you enable this bell icon, and it will only be on your computer, so it's not by doing this that if someone else, like let's say you're in the office doing adjustments to the T-sheet, if someone's at the Pro Shop counter, it won't impact their computer in any capacity. It's just the one that you're using that you've enabled it on. And this allows you to really just kind of make adjustments without, you know, triggering a ton of emails to customers. Once you disable the icon, so if you click on it so that it reinitiates notifications, it will not send out all those, you know, confirmation emails that hadn't been sending because you had it muted. They just don't ever go out to customers. So sometimes if a customer isn't receiving a confirmation email, just double check that the red bell icon isn't enabled. It can happen. People forget to turn it off. But it is a really good way to kind of control your own T-sheet, be able to make those adjustments to the T-sheet that, you don't necessarily want to trigger 3-4 emails to a customer, letting them know that you're making those adjustments. So it's a good way to kind of go through it and make, kind of own your own T-sheet and kind of go through it. Now, right next to that bell icon, same kind of thing is that when you click on that, it will automatically enable your bell icon so that no one gets notified of anything anyways. But this is where you can really, where you can make those quick adjustments to your T-sheet. So now let's say I pull these 4 tea times. From here, at the very bottom of my screen, I have a blue bar where I can click on block tea times, which will automatically block these tea times from being able to be booked. So some real good use of this is if you're unsure of what the weather is going to be in the morning, or or late at night, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., depending on the sun, especially in your later months in the season where the days are a little bit shorter. You can just block those tea times instead of deleting them, because then you can unblock them to make bookings if you can end up squeezing them in. And to unblock them, you can click the top one and click shift and then the last one, and it will select everything in between. A little quick tricks on the T-sheet to make things a little bit quicker. And then right next to where it says block, I'm gonna hit unblock, and now they're available to be booked again. So super simple, some really quick ways to really own your own T-sheet. Now if I click on those same tea times, I can also squeeze a tea time. So for example, if I just wanted to add a 1 tea time with my 224, it'll come right here. It'll be slightly grayed out when I'm not looking at it, just to designate it that it was a squeeze, so you can kind of know which one was the original and which one wasn't. And then you can go ahead and make any bookings. But if you change your mind and decide to remove it, same thing, click on that tea time, and then you'll be able to just click on delete right next to squeeze, and this will permanently delete the tea time. So it's not blocking or unblocking. Will permanently remove it from your T-sheet as an option. So if you're not sure whether or not you might end up wanting to use that tea time, blocking is a much quicker thing to do versus deleting it and then having to go in and maybe squeezing or creating brand new tea times. So little things. The last little thing I'll show you about some quick things that you can do using this adjust bar is if you have Stripe configured, you can also promote tea times. So you can put, let's say, a 20% discount on an 18-hole booking, and I'm only going to let it be for the first 2 people that book it. So 2 golfers, that's it, out of 8 that can be booked, will get a 20% discount on 18-hole green fees. Now, you can only do this if you do have Stripe configured on your account. If you don't have Stripe, there's it's not possible, just because these are prepaid tea times. So they will pay it as soon as they're making their booking, so that it's an advantage of booking the deal online is that they get to use they have to prepay for it, so that you make sure that you're getting that revenue too. So we'll click on save, and then now right next to my tea time, we have our flame icon designating that this was in fact a green fee deal that someone can book. So you can always see which ones are being promoted. Same thing as when you're blocking and unblocking, end of day, beginning of day, the slower time periods on the tea sheet, you can just promote some tea times, maybe get the tea sheet filled as much as possible. So it's some really good use and stuff when you're looking at it. Now I'll just exit out of here. I'm just going to click on my wrench icon at the top, and now my adjustments remain the same, but now you can see I'm no longer in my edit mode. For the next 3 icons, we're going to make some bookings so that I can show you exactly how we can go through it. So now when you're on the tea sheet, this blue bar that you can see where it says the time in blue, it will automatically adjust based off your time zone. So it'll move to what time it is where you are. So that's why as soon as I come back to today's tea sheet, it'll always move me to this afternoon, because it's letting me know that I can start making bookings or check people in. Now, when you're on the tea sheet, you can hover over however many squares you need to make the booking. So if you know you're making a booking for a foursome, you can do that. Otherwise, you can just click on the first section on the left-hand side of the T-sheet, click on it, and then at the bottom, you have your reservation window. So this is where you're going to make and add all the customer's information to the booking. Now, if you initially open a one-person booking, you can always add more or remove. You can always make those quick adjustments, not that you have to exit out of it because you clicked on something once. Now, when you're inputting a customer's information, you have 5 different ways you can look them up within your database. So if I start typing my last name, you can see the information populates. As soon as I click on it, my bag number, my member number, my email, all of that information automatically populates. I can do the same thing for a first name. You can see as I type right next to where it says guest, it's spinning. It's letting you know that the system's actually searching through your database for anybody matching that criteria. So we can see here I've put in Aria, so now I can click on there. Same thing, automatically change the player type for them because they are in fact members. I can put in a phone number. This is a super generic one, so I will pick Tyler, and then we'll add in one more. So we'll put in there we go. And then as soon as I put this in, I can put it in. So there's always value in putting in as much information on a customer's profile as possible, just because it allows you to, for example, if someone comes in and they know their member number because you use them at the golf course, being able to just quickly input someone's member number and have the system match on that versus, maybe getting a spelling, or figuring out exactly what the pronunciation was, those things that kind of make things slightly, longer in checking golfers out. Now, when you're doing this, as soon as I hit save, you can see here I have everyone's information. It's colored based off their player type. But now if I were to make a booking, and I will put in one's name, you can see that it's still spinning, trying to match it on a customer's profile. I'm only going to put in the first name and last name. And as soon as I hit save, you're going to notice that Kelsey's name is actually in italicized. Now, what this is showing you is that you haven't collected enough information on this customer's reservation to save them in your database. So right now you do not have a Kelsey in your database, but you have nothing to give it a unique identifier. So now if I were to open back up this booking and I were to add in a phone number, so I'll just put in big one. You can see that right now it automatically changed to new customer, letting you know that you're actually going to end up saving this customer, thus building your database. Now, because on the T-sheet, you can send emails and SMSs directly to people on the T-sheet for that day, you do want to make sure that you're collecting enough information because for whatever reason, let's say the course didn't drain properly overnight due to rain and stuff, and so you're going to have delays or, the 7 a.m. tee times are canceled. Hopefully not, but for argument's sake, if it was, you want to have a way to communicate with the golfers. If your staff or if you aren't putting in enough information into the booking, it really limits you in what you can do for the customer in the end. So it's an added level of customer service and it'll just benefit you in the long run because it's more information you're collecting in your database and it's just better opportunity to be able to communicate with them. So now as soon as I hit save, you'll notice that Kelsey's name will actually go into the normal character, letting me know that it's actually saved in my database. So there are some really good ways to kind of build it. You'll see that the guest remains italicized because there's 0 information in for the golfer. Now, if you wanted to, if you have a foursome, let's say they play at 3 p.m. every Tuesday at, they're going to play for the next month, the next few weeks. Right on the left-hand side of your booking window, you have the option to recur a reservation. So here, I'm going to add myself back into the booking. I'll add someone else. Perfect. And now I'm going to click on recur reservation. And then now I'm going to be able to pick like the schedule that I want to repeat this reservation. It will copy my exact reservation on any schedule that I choose. So similar to if ever you're building your tea times, you have three options: daily, weekly, or now you have the option of monthly. So this particular reservation is going to be weekly on Tuesdays, and it's going to end at the end of July. Now, when you're doing a recurring reservation, because you're trying to build one that repeats across several days, you can only do this on a brand new reservation. You can't do it on an existing one. So if I were to open my 224 reservation, I won't have the option anymore to recur a reservation. So you do want to make sure you're doing it at the beginning. Otherwise, just go to the next week and then recur it from there. So there's always the option. As soon as I hit recur, you'll notice I have a link icon next to my name. This is showing you that it's actually a multiple reservation, that they're actually going to come back and it's linked together, because any adjustments you make, you'll have the option of applying it to that one reservation or the entire one. Now, if I were to go to next Tuesday's tee sheet, you'll see that top left, I already have 4 golfers. And if I come down here, my reservation is exactly the same. So it's a good way that, if you have those groups, some people use this for leagues, depending on kind of how you have it set up, you can kind of just block off that section of your tee sheet for, a group play. And what you can do actually is, if it is in fact a group, if I were to open up my reservation again, you'll notice I don't have my recur reservation icon anymore, the 2 arrows, but I do have the option to clone this reservation. So cloning it will make an exact copy of the booking you're cloning, and you can choose over how many tee times you're going to book. So I can click, let's say, the next 3, because they're a group of 4 foursomes that are going to play every week. As soon as I hit clone reservation, it will actually clone my recurrence as well. So it's a good way if you're making group bookings. If you do a lot of, outings and stuff, it's a good way to kind of make a group booking. So you can go down here and you can see all 4 tee times are blocked off already. Doesn't take very long, but it's a matter of just, knowing the buttons to click and making sure you know exactly what you want to do. So there's some easy ways to kind of make quick bookings so that, it's, especially if you're a new customer and you want to input some upcoming reservations, cloning and recurring, if you know that someone has the same tee time for the next few weeks, instead of creating them on the individual days, to be able to set it once and copy it, does make things a little bit easier, that's for sure. Now, if I go up to this Kelsey reservation and click on it, I can also click up here where it says 18 holes and just change it to a 9-hole booking. Same thing, I'm going to have an icon on the left-hand side letting me know that they're actually going to be playing 9 holes. So maybe I can have someone go off the back at 4:30, just gives you information, be able to see the difference between your 18 and your 9-hole bookings. And lastly, I'll go to our 4. If I scroll down, this plus button or add products, it does the same thing. So you can either click on your plus down here to add a cart or any booking extras that you've created, or you can also just go to your add product section where you can just pick and choose what you want to add. So for this one, I'm going to add a half cart, which you can pick and choose which customers are adding this to their booking. So this is probably a little bit more convenient if you're going to be adding it to the whole foursome, because then you could just pick and choose the entire group versus having to individually add the cart. And you can also pick and choose, for example, if they want to add a large bucket to their booking. There's many different applications for the booking extras. If you haven't heard about them, they're a new feature where you can really add any non-inventory item, which you can either choose whether it's available online or whether or not you want the customer to be able to book it themselves on their booking. So super convenient. So now that I've added everything, you can see that the totals have changed for everyone because I've added in some different things. Now I'm going to take payment for them. So Brian is going to pay a loan. So I'm just going to click on this register icon over here. If you do have the POS with us, it will open Lightspeed Retail, which then you can take payment. So for example, I'll hit payment. I'll take a cash payment for that, finish sale, and then I'll close. Brian will be marked as paid and as arrived. So we know he's paid in full. Now, let's say 2 people wanted to pay together. You can click on this take payment button right over here. And same thing with when you are adding any booking extras, you can pick and choose who you want to add together. So Tyler and Chelsea are going to pay together. So I'm going to just scroll down and click take payment. Same thing, it's going to open up the retail point of sale for me. It's going to have everything under there. You can see my large bucket, my name is there, the information for the booking is there. It's super useful if ever you're going through your reports. And then you click on payment. We'll take another cash payment, finish sale, and then same thing, Tyler and I have been marked as paid. Now for Aria, she's going to pay by herself, but I'm going to hit this register icon at the bottom. Oh, actually, you know what? For this one, I'm going to, as you can see, didn't complete the transaction. So I didn't, so she wasn't marked as paid or as arrived. If I click on take payment, I'm actually just going to, here, you can have Aria. But because Aria actually has a credit card attached to her profile, I'm actually just going to charge it directly from here. So you can see I have a credit card. Otherwise, I can add a new one if she wanted to change the card on file. And then I can just click take payment. And I actually never have to leave the T-sheet itself. So it's a good way that if you don't have the point of sale, you can still take payment for customers directly on the T-sheet. You could, if you have Stripe configured, which is directly integrated into Lightspeed Golf, it'll allow you to take those payments directly on the T-sheet. So it's a good way. And so we'll click Aria's arrived and I'll hit saved. So now you can see up here, our whole group is marked as arrived and as paid, and this will update on everybody's computer. So even if you're not in the pro shop and you're just looking at what's going on the T-sheet that day, it will all update for you so you can exactly see what's happening. So it's super useful. Now some quicker ways to make some payments for a booking. So for this 9-hole group, if I hover over it and I know that these two golfers are paying together, or I want to group everyone that hasn't paid into one transaction, I can just click this register icon without even opening the booking, and it'll group everyone together. So I'll go ahead and hit payment, cash, I'll hit finish sale, close, same thing, marked as arrived and as paid. So it can be very quick. It's just knowing exactly what you're trying to do. You know, if it's one transaction, where you should be clicking versus, you know, if you're separating everyone into individual transactions, whatever you're trying to do. The last way I want to show you how you can take payment is if you click on this $ icon on the top of your T-sheet over here, you can actually pick and choose either full reservations or just individual golfers that you want to group together into one transaction. You can see the items down here will continue adding together as I click through people. And same thing as when I was doing the take payment on the reservation window, I either have the option of going to the register or taking payment directly on a credit card. So for this one, I'm going to go to the register and it's going to group everyone together. I'll click payment, cash, close. And now only the golfers that were included in that transaction were marked as paid. So this is really good if you're doing any kind of league play or anything. It's a good way to kind of just check out the group together, or if you do a lot of group outings, then you could just select everyone, bring them all into the POS. Maybe you're invoicing them later, charging them to their house account, whatever it is, kind of allows you to do those changes. Now, if you are on the T-sheet and you want to cancel multiple reservations, what you can do is click on this icon on the top right-hand side, the mass cancel, and same thing, you can just pick and choose exactly which golfers you want to cancel. So this one, I'm just going to cancel this bottom one. I'll go ahead and click proceed. I'm going to cancel those rounds and it'll just remove them from the T-sheet. Super easy making those quick changes. So if ever you wanted to remove a large portion of tee times instead of individual ones, you can always just click the mass cancel button on the very top. Now let's say someone comes in and they have a package. So I'm going to open up my booking over here because as you can see, I actually have a prepaid green fee package already on my profile. So I can go ahead and click apply, which will apply to my booking and mark my subtotal due down to 0. I'll click that I've arrived because I'm all done. But I also have the option to share this package with everyone else on my line. So for example, I have my 2 public players with me. I'm going to go to my discounts tab on the reservation window. I'm going to select my package, and I'm going to go ahead and click apply to those 2 golfers. You'll see that the bar comes up over here. I'll mark them both as arrived, and then I'll go ahead and click save. Now they're all paid up. There's no balance due. They're arrived. If you want, you can also send it to the point of sale so that it gets the $ next to it. It's totally up to you, but I'll show you in a little bit. We're going to get to customer profiles soon, and that's where you can kind of see exactly where the packages were applied. So you can always share a package among someone on the same reservation. It's just up to you how you kind of want to share it. So super easy. Otherwise, you can always click back into a booking, and you'd be like, click on the 3 dots next to that purple line, scroll down, and just remove the discount. It'll remove the usage from the customer's profile, and now you can go ahead and take payment for it. So it's super easy, done, and now we'll just finish checking out this group. Take payment, and done. So there are some really quick ways that you can kind of make those adjustments to the actual T-sheet. It's just a matter of exactly how you want to go through it, and you kind of get more comfortable and familiar with how you want to do things based off your preferred workflow. It's just a matter of adopting what you find is the easiest and quickest way for your customers. Now, we're going to switch over into our customer profiles. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side, all my icons have been collapsed on the side, and that was just from me adding multiple T-sheets. It'll automatically collapse. If you click these 3 lines on the very top of your screen, it'll always bring it back out. So just in case you were curious or how to get those back. Now, we're going to go to our customers tab. Now, the customers tab is only accessible if you're a manager or an assistant. Now this is showing you your entire database. So it shows you absolutely everybody's information. So I'll go ahead and go to my profile. I know I do have 2, and that is on purpose, not a mistake. So when you're looking at the profile, this basic information, you can fill in as much as you want. The profile section of it is our default sections of the profile that you can input the information on. And then down here, custom fields is in settings, you can customize what information you're collecting from the golfer. If you go to the reservations tab, you can see all the reservations from a customer. You can see any no-show, if you mark a reservation as a no-show, or if I've canceled any. So you can see I've canceled quite a few bookings. So this will just allow you to always consult, if a golfer does cancel a lot of bookings, not following through on their T-sheet, on their bookings, it allows you to just kind of see an overview of how many of those have been canceled. Now the packages, so you can see here, we have our packages, and then if I click into it, you can actually see exactly which tee times it was used on. Now I know you're seeing that the other 2 golfers aren't there, and that's because I shared Brian's package with the other golfer, so I'll show you that on his profile. Now, if a customer does have a beneficiary listed here, this will allow you to use my package on, let's say, Aria's booking without me being there. So just a beneficiary is the people that are allowed to use this package without the owner on the reservation as well. So how it just changes the way you can share it. So that's where you can always consult where the usages were for the packages and being able to kind of see exactly when and how it was used. The golfer can see on their end just the total usages, not the exact details of the bookings. So they just see a brief overview. Now, depending on your plan, it will change your view on the customer's profile. So house accounts and subscriptions are part of the member module. So just to give you a brief overview of what you're looking at, the house account will consolidate the charges from your pro shop and from the food and beverage side. The green will always designate that it's a deposit, and the credit limit is always set on the pro shop side. You will go a little bit more in depth on this if you do have house accounts on the POS webinar, which is on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So I won't go into too much detail, but just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. And then next, we have our subscriptions. So you can see here, I have quite a few on my profile that have been canceled because I do generally sell to myself during these webinars or during trainings. So if I go ahead, I'm just going to cancel this existing one. So if I click on this garbage icon, you'll notice the player type right under my profile is actually going to change right back to a public player. So this is a really good way to have that automated, that as soon as your memberships are expiring, that they revert to a public player. This will allow you to, limit how many times you have to go in and, manually make sure that people aren't maintaining their playing privileges. So to sell a membership, you're going to click on sell on the top right-hand side. And then you have 2 dates you're going to want to consider. The first one is how the validity of the actual membership, so how long you want it valid for. So right now, my golf course, Eastwood, has its default to end on the end of November. If you don't have a default end date, it will default to a year from when they joined, from when they're purchasing. And you also have the option to auto renew. Now, auto renew can only be done if you're selling a membership onto a house account or directly on a credit card, not if you're taking the lump sum in the register POS. Just to give you an idea. Now, the summary will give you an idea of, if you click on add and then click on membership, it'll bring any membership that you have available to sell to a customer. I'm going to go ahead and purchase a full membership with cart. I'm going to then click again and click on service because I'm going to purchase that annual cart pass. And as well, I'm going to actually, I'm actually going to purchase all of them. Perfect. If you click on any of the items down here, you can see the price, but you can also add a discount if you wanted to give an early bird special discount, whatever it is, because then you'll always be able to come back in and see what the discount was on the membership and why it's a little bit lower than you were expecting. And then the total it'll show you what the tax amount will be if you have any taxes on those items. Now you can click on continue or on sale, and then it does the exact same thing. So it just gets you to the same screen. So I'll go ahead and click on continue. And then this is where you have your 3 options of how a customer is going to pay for their membership dues. If I click on register, you'll notice I have no other options. As soon as I hit save, like on the T-sheet, it'll open up the retail point of sale for me to be able to complete the sale if they're in front of me and they're purchasing a membership. If you have house accounts, as soon as you click on it, this is the second date you're going to pay attention to. So the first one was for how valid the membership was, and the second one is the start of the billing cycle. So when you want to actually charge the customer for it, you can change this date. So if you want all your membership dues to be the 15th, you can choose which date it's going to happen, and then you can partition the payment into equal payments. So if you're doing a monthly membership, this is how you would sell it. You would kind of sell it into 12 equal payments. You can also change it to 6, 8. It really can get very specific. You can really put any number in, and it'll always give consecutive months in payments and divide it into equal parts. Now, you can also leave a note on any membership sale. So for example, that 10% discount, we'll do for, we'll give a 10% discount because they were one of the founding members, so they can get a discount. And then if ever you're going back into the subscription, you'll be able to see this note. So it's a good way to just kind of give yourself a reminder. And then the last one is the credit card. So it's the same thing. Payment strategy maintains, you can do it into equal payments. This is just being charged directly on their credit card. So it's not something that the house account will charge the house account, which you can then invoice them for. This will charge them directly onto their credit card, so that you can take payment for it. So for this one, I'm actually going to go to the register. So I'll go ahead and click save. You'll notice my player type changed under my name back to full member with cart. And then for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and take payment. I'm actually going to charge it to the house account just to get rid of it. Perfect. And now it's active. If I click back into my membership, you can see each of these items that are included in the dues that I'm paying. And if I click on sale, you'll always be able to see that note. It's a good way to, if you're looking in to see any membership sales that happened, you can always see why pricing was changed And to me, I think the more information you put anywhere is just the easiest way to just constantly be in communication and understand what was happening at the golf course at that time. So it's a good way to do it. I'll just go ahead and hit close. So now I have my active membership. It'll automatically expire November 30th. I don't have to do anything more. If I come in and want to purchase a membership for the following season, I can just have it start December 1st. So it's super easy and go through it. It's a good way to kind of practice going through is maybe selling yourself a couple memberships to kind of understand the, where to click, and so that you're super fast and speedy at it when customers standing in front of you. It's always my 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 recommendation is practice, 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 especially during if you're currently being onboarded as a new customer. It's definitely the best thing to do, just so that you can get as much practice in as possible before you go live with the system. Now, the last couple options on a customer's profile. So the payment method is where you can actually add a credit card for a customer. So you can just input the information in their expiry date. If you are in the US, your button won't say add a credit card. It will say add a payment method. And once you click on that, you'll have the option of doing a bank account or a credit card. So just in the US and Canada, it's just adding a credit card. And then if I click on preferences, same thing. If I have house accounts, you'll be able to select whether or not they want to receive their house account statements by mail. So that when you're looking at your reports, you can actually export any statements that where they prefer to receive it by mail and not email. So super easy. The last little thing is that if you don't have the membership module and you are looking at a customer's profile, I'm just going to switch to a non-member. So I'll go to my other one. So if I go over here and click on the edit button on the right-hand side of my screen, this is where you're going to input information for any customer, especially if you're inputting something, if you're inputting them normally and manually, sorry. I always recommend start with the email if you're getting an email from a customer, because it's possible that while they're not in your database, they could exist in the Lightspeed Golf database. So it's just it'll match on any existing email. Now, if you don't have any membership, you don't have the membership module, so you don't have subscriptions or house accounts, you can always maintain your player types by clicking over here, and I can just put any player type. You can always edit. So this is really only for if you don't have any memberships, that you would edit your player type, because if you just edit the player type, it will remain indefinitely. So you do want to make sure that if it is a membership and you have the subscription module, you are selling actual subscriptions to customers. So perfect. I'm just going to cancel. And then the last thing is the tags. So if you click on manage tags, you can see I have some generic ones already built. But it's a good way that if you wanted to segment your database further, you can always just add a tag so that you can just export a list of anybody with the member tag on them. You don't have to, it's not a requirement, but these are things that really allows you to customize the platform to how you want to use it and be able to kind of do a lot of things that speed up the process for yourself. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to give you for the customer overview. We have about a little bit of time left, so I think we'll be able to fit it in. Don't worry. We're going to go over creating some events. So if I go to our events module over here, you can see I do have some already created on for the month overview. There are two different events that you can create within Lightspeed Golf. You can either do a tournament, which will block off the tee sheet and actually allow you to have a specific kind of tee sheet structure for the times within the tournament, or you can create a social event, which customers can then register online for and be able to book tickets for. So the first one we're going to do is a social event. So I'll go ahead, click add on the top right, and then click social. I'll put in the name. So I'm just going to we're doing a lobster night. You can put in the description. It'll be whatever you want to share with the public of what's included. You can also include any promotional images that you have. If you have like a poster or something, it'll be visible. It's going to be on Friday at 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. Now the ticket pricing, you can actually do the ticket name per person and decide how many are available for purchase. So for example, if you only have the price for 40, and let's say it's going to be 90, and then we'll put it. So we'll do, I'll do 35. You can do 80, and we'll do one last one. We'll do 20 so that it makes sense. Perfect. So we'll do only 30 of those, and we'll put 60. Now you can see that my total capacity is now 100. It'll always kind of give you an overview. And you can also click on there and put the total capacity. So let's say you only want 75 people. Your limit you're setting for the total capacity will override the quantity available per ticket. You can also click on the gear icon right next to it to add any description to that specific ticket. So it allows you to kind of constantly communicate. Now for the payment type, you have two options. You can either pay online, which if you have Stripe configured, you will be able to have the customers actually pay online directly for the event. These transactions don't report directly into the retail point of sale, so you could just do like a lump sum to have a report, or you can have it pay at golf, where you can just have them come in. If you don't have the point of sale, then you can just have them come in and purchase a ticket, but at least it allows you to kind of share the information with the customers. And you can also enable whether or not they can leave an online note. So I'm going to leave that it's pay at golf and that they can leave an online note. I'll go ahead and click save. As soon as I do that, it brings me to the overview of the event. So you can see how many attendees you have. It'll constantly update as people make orders. And it'll also automatically give you a public URL. So if I click view, you'll actually be able to, so if I put any of my promotional information, you're actually able to share this with a customer, which then becomes shareable, and you'll be able to promote it. Maybe you want to put it in an email, a message, or anything to a customer. Allows you to talk, share it publicly with them. And if I come back here, I'll click on attendees, and from here I can also manually add anybody in. So if I want to click here, you can add how many tickets, and it'll give you enough information to put people in. And same thing as the T-sheet, as you type, it'll match on the customer. So you know it's me with 2 intermediates, click save, and then I get added. Now, you can export your list at the end for the social event. You can always export your list. It'll download into a CSV file, but it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. The list will always be here. And then right where it says close, that's where you can open or close the online booking for the event. So if I open the booking, I'll just go ahead and refresh that public night, and now I can actually go through the booking process of reserving tickets and then be able to check out, and I will automatically get added to your attendees list. So that's pretty much the broad overview of the social event. There's a lot of different applications. It really depends on the golf course, how you want to use them. Some people use this for restaurant events. Some people use this for, for member events, maybe club championship, anything that maybe people have to, pay to attend. You can always kind of customize and use it in your own way. There's really a lot of freedom in what you can do with the social events. All right, perfect. So next I'm going to go back and click on events. You'll see that my lobster night has been added in red. You can always distinguish it from your tournaments. And then the last event we're going to create is a tournament. So as soon as I click on tournament, same kind of screen pops up as the social event, but you'll notice at the bottom is slightly different. So for the night, we're going to do Women's Thursday. Thursday League, same thing. I could put a description. I could also choose the course that this is actually going to be created on. So this is going to be on my 18-hole course. It's going to be on Thursday at 2 p.m. till 4. They have the tee box from 2 to 4. Now, the tee times that you're creating will only apply between 2 and 4 p.m. So you have the option of doing a standard, a crossover, shotgun, or custom. Same thing as when you're building tee times. For this one, we will do 10-minute intervals, standard interval. For booking, you can actually apply a price sheet, again, that is only going to apply for the tournament times. So as soon as I click on price sheet, I can go ahead and do league play. I can turn on my online booking, and I also have the option of whether or not I want this to appear on my booking widget. So if you don't want this to be visible at all, it'll only be visible on the T sheet for the pro shop staff or any partners that have access. But for me as a golfer, if I'm making a booking, I can't see that there's an event that day. So you can actually hide the online visibility. So you turn that off. And you can actually recur this. So this is a weekly Thursday league. So I'll choose Thursday and I'll do for the next few weeks. And then as soon as I hit save, same thing as my social event, I get my overview of my event that I created, how many players, the reservations, and if any carts have been added. This could be, let's say, 0709. If you wanted, if you have different formats that you do each week, if you do, like it allows you to kind of have a private note so that when you're looking at it on here and on the T sheet, which I'm about to show you, you'll always be able to communicate what the format is that day, whatever, the league is. And if you click on tee times, you can also actually create tee times directly from here without having to go directly to the T sheet. But if you did want to see the event as it is created on the T sheet, you can click on these three dots on the top right-hand side and click show on T sheet. Now, if I'm on my Thursday T sheet, now you can see that the tee times within here are actually going to be separate from the ones on the rest of my T sheet. So between 2 and 4 p.m., my intervals are 10 minutes. And you can see that it's my 2-man scramble note has been left at the top. And if I go to make a booking for a public player, you can see it's actually $31 and not the $70 that you see on the price tag on the top left. So, there's a lot of usages for corporate. If you're giving any kind of corporate pricing for any tournament, you can do this where, only the people that are being booked in there get this that pricing. You can do it with player types, a lot of different ways you can kind of go through it. If you do a lot of leagues, I highly recommend letting your account manager or implementation consultant know, just so that they can give you best practices and kind of go a little bit more in depth on how you can use it to your advantage on your T sheet. But it is certainly useful. Because it allows you to kind of designate outside the T sheet. And it's a good way if you do have, let's say a shotgun in the afternoon, you can just create an event, have a separate T sheet, price sheet, sorry, and be able to apply it just for those tee times. So a lot of usages, and you can see that it's also a recurring tournament, and directly on the T sheet, you can turn on or off the online booking for the event. So, and if same thing with the three dots, you can always go back and click edit and make any adjustments. So you'd be like, you know what, I want this to go to 5 p.m. Click save, all future events. And now you can see it extended my event. You can always make those quick adjustments. It's not once you've done anything on the tournament that you can't make adjustments. The one thing is that if you do have existing reservations in there, it could become slightly more complicated just from a systems perspective. But again, just ask our support team and they're more than happy to answer any questions you might have about the booking process for for those tournaments. So yeah, so that's pretty much the overview that I want to give you on the T sheet today. We did cover quite a bit. We went through processing golfers on the T sheet, making reservations, applying packages, how to take group payments, understanding the customer's profile in your database, as well as making events. What happens after this is that you will get a recap email from your implementation consultant or account manager, giving you some useful links to videos of to everything that I covered today so that you can kind of consult it. Now, if you do have the retail point of sale, I highly recommend registering for Thursday's webinar. It's super useful. It's a lot of inventory management, basic sales. It's a ton of very good information in that one as well. But if you do have any questions, you can either write in the questions section or the chat section totally up to you. I will look at both. And so you can be able to ask me any questions about something we've gone over. If you have any other questions about the platform, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So I'll give everyone a couple minutes to type out any questions they have. Let me know.